All right, hello, folks. I hope you've all had a great weekend. Our weekends went pretty good. I slept in yesterday, and I slept, and I slept, and I slept. I'm getting older, so sometimes you need those days where you uh, can just almost check out for the day. I had to go do some things yesterday morning. I came home, I was wore out. I said, I ain't doing nothing the rest of the day, and I didn't. And I'm very thankful that I had the opportunity to get the rest that I evidently needed because I conked out. Um, I'm going to talk about several things today on the boxing front. Everything is going great. Uh, got two new guys in, working with them a little bit, couple of times. Won't go into the particulars there, but this boxing is a process, man. It is a process, and to box and my way of that I do things is 10 times more difficult than going down to the local boxing gym. It's night and day. Anyway, I think it's going to make. I don't know if they'll be able to stick it out. Everybody comes and goes. They get to I can't handle this mess point, and they move on. But that's what separates folks from playing NFL type football, baseball, basketball from boxers, or soccer from boxers. So there are a lot of good reasons behind that. I want to talk to you today, and I want everybody to start thinking in these terms. When I was a kid, uh, the highway system that you know today, speaking in U.S. terms, had just come about, and it had not been around a long time, but it was there when I was a kid. Not as extensive as it is today, but it was there, and it was a good highway system. Point on that, unless you were going tremendously fast or tremendously reckless, you got to travel. You got to the policing apparatus would leave you to your own devices unless it was just gross misconduct. At least in the South of the U.S., all this control nature took hold a lot sooner in the north of the country. Uh, and we're seeing that as people from the north went to the south, all that control that they wanted to get away from, they brought with them. So it's just a sad thing to see the South disappearing. But I understand why people from California or New York State or other places would want to go south because the California and the north is just eating itself. My only hope is that in everyone that migrate south, they don't, in their particular situation at a given moment in time, don't demand the control that they have in the north. And I believe that's what's happened in the south. At any rate, now you can't even travel. They got plate checkers, they're checking your plates. They got radars all over the place. Those speed strips. I mean, you just government's just all over you as you're going down the road. There's government overreach everywhere, and it is overreach. It's vast overreach. Back when I was in the university, this group called Mothers Against Drunk Driving came out, and that's a good thing. See, you look at that and you say, well, that's a good thing. But you don't want people out here drinking and driving and causing accidents. What was going on and why the group got originally created was because teenagers would do what teenagers do. Thank God mine doesn't, but most teenagers, and I did as well, they go to a party, drink some beer, they get out here on the road and have a wreck and kill themselves or kill someone else. And these mothers didn't like that, and rightfully so. But it's created such an overreach that if a man or a woman, and I want you to think in larger terms here, I'm using this because it's a big situation. There's hundreds of other situations I could use this for. But I want you to think in this perspective. A guy, he's a single mother, or it's a single mother or a single father, or it really doesn't make any difference, but it would be double worse if it was a single parented family. But it could be either. And I'll start with a complete family. You got a mom and a dad out here. Mom and dad work. Mom's out here. I'll use mom. And she's had a few too many drinks sitting over there with her girlfriends, and she leaves out to come home. She hasn't wrecked. She hasn't done anything that has harmed another individual. She gets stopped, and she gets carted off to jail. And of course, in that, her job gets stripped from her, and all the other things, has to pay a lawyer, all these things, maybe loses her license to drive, which, it really should not be a privilege to the extent that the state says it is, because you have the right to travel, and if there's no means to travel, you have to create your own means to travel. And so, at any rate, maybe she loses that. Then secondary and thirdary things start happening. They can't meet the house mortgage, so the house goes. They can't meet the car payment, so the decent cars go, and maybe if they're lucky enough, they get a piece of junk. Meanwhile, they got 2 or 3 kids at the house. They're seeing the family just bottom out into a bottomless economic hell pit. And how do you think it's going to affect those kids? You see? So control there, which seems to be roads and highways and victimless crimes, there is countless higher percentages of their attention given to that. And meanwhile, as happened in that last high school shooting, kids posting on Facebook, the FBI actually go to the house with the sheriff's office and start questioning this dad and his little homosexual son. who, in Dad's defense on this part, had him out there trying to hunt, but he's got rouge makeup on. Oh my God. He got a woman's hairstyle from 1974. It's just pathetic. They go out there, they talk to this man and his son. The wife, she's off on drugs. She's a meth head and an alcoholic. I don't know much more about the daddy. They're really not defending him because his dumb ass shouldn't have gave the boy an assault rifle for Christmas or his birthday. That's crazy. But they go out there and they investigate, and the kids, no, I didn't do that. And the dad's like, no, we talk about these shootings and all this, and if I knew my son was going to do that, the guns would be gone. Turns out the boy was doing that, in hindsight, after he done went down there and murdered 4 people this past week. See, that's what the attention gets taken away from and put on road piracy and other types of piracy where nobody's hurting another living soul, or hasn't as of yet. But major situations like I'm going to go blow a building up or something gets overlooked, in the attention that it needs to get, it doesn't get. So we've got to do a lot more rethinking here. But what can we expect from Western society when we bring in illegally, mind you, people from other cultures, and we let them swarm our society? And many of us say that that's with their crime, pedophilia, all sorts of things that goes with it and associated with it, murdering the country's own citizens, and then you got many in said countries that stand up and think that's a good thing. So you got to quit getting brainwashed. No matter what color you are, black, white, red, green, gold, yellow, it makes no difference. You need to be proud of who you are. There is nothing, zero, inherently racist about that. You need to be proud of your culture. There's nothing bigoted about that you don't want other cultures coming in crapping up your good, decent Western culture. There is nothing wrong with a Christian that wants his values upheld and doesn't want all these other religions brought in to crap all over them and constantly remind the Christian that they want to kill the Christian. I want to tell you, you've been taught a phony version of a false Christ, and you think it's the real Christ, and it's not the real one at all. Christ sacrificed himself so that you could live eternally, and that you would live, and through him a good culture would be developed. More honor and decency would be developed in the world. More self-dignity and respect for the dignity of others would be in a Christian culture. And we're throwing all that in the garbage can, and it's by design. And it's wolves in sheep's clothing inside the predominant majority of the churches today these wolves in sheep's clothing, and predominantly in government today, these wolves in sheep's clothing that are satanically led, and most of them, the majority of them, do not realize that they are satanically led. They are worshiping that old devil, that old demon, and they don't even know it. Satan has come to them in his beauty, as the Bible describes him, and as a wonderful, beautiful thing. And they have taken it to such an extreme that even defending your life, your liberty, your home, your school, your friends, your church, your property, you can't do that, or you've committed sins, because you're hurting the other person, with little thought or little judgment going on the one that's committing the crimes and the hard times. So, just an old man ramble for a Sunday morning. I want to tell each of you, I want to end this like I normally end these videos. Christ is our King up in this house. He is our King. He is the King of Kings, and as bad and as terrible as we are, we will continue to put our King on high and worship him as the greatest. And we will continue to do so irregardless. And we love you, and we hope you come over on our side of the camp and do the same thing. There's a lot of problems in this world. Mothers and fathers don't even know how to rear children. They don't take the time to rear children anymore. Everybody's worried about what color they're going to paint the house, what type of furniture there's going to be, what the neighbors are thinking about us, our station in life. And we're totally forgetting our children. And we want all of you to know around here, our child is placed first in our thought processing after God. So in a worldly nature, it's God first, then it's thinking in the child or children. And that needs to be the same way in your house. And if you build a strong union with your husband or your wife, and you will be doing the right things for your child or your children, and you'll have a happier life, and your child will grow up to have a good life too. Now, on the flip side of that, if you're piled up in church, and it's a church you go into, the word of I forget the name of it, but you go into a church and they say, if you give to God, which is the church, which is the preacher, that God's going to give you all this money back here on earth. You are in a satanic church, and you need to run, and your husband or your wife will not be placed on high. Your children will not be placed on high, and the Lord Jesus Christ will not be placed on high. That greed will be placed on high, and you need to run. And the greed is the fundamental part of the destruction of the church that has allowed all of this, from these immigration policies, all this government control, and everything else, to swoop down on us with its satanic claws. So be careful out there. Be careful.